Well, hello to my Sunday school friends. It is so good to see you. If you remember where we left off, we're in a story about how Israel again has gotten itself into trouble. Again, they've forgotten what they were supposed to do. And last time when we talked, the Philistines had taken over Israel. And the Philistines had been the masters of Israel for 40 years. And the people were crying out to God, and God heard their cries, and the angel of the Lord appeared to this couple, remember, and said that they were going to have a son, a very special son. And that because he was going to be committed to God his whole life, he was going to be called a Nazarene, that the mama should not drink any wine or any strong drink. She shouldn't touch or eat anything unclean. And that when the boy was born, the same rules would apply to him, and they should never cut his hair. Remember that? And they had a little boy, and they named him Samson, and they kept all these rules, and that's where we ended the story last time. Now, Samson grew up, and when he was a young man, he was walking around and he saw a young woman who was a Philistine. And he got Twitter-pated. He was all, oh, she's so pretty. I like her so much. And he went home and he told his parents, I saw the girl I want to marry. And they said, tell us about her son. And he said, well, she's beautiful and she's a Philistine, and you should go get her for me so that she can be my wife. And his parents said, Samson, are you crazy? Don't marry a Philistine. There's all kinds of nice girls right around here that you could marry. Girls that know about the true God and worship the true God. Why would you marry a Philistine girl? His parents didn't understand that all of this was from God, that God wanted to use Samson to set Israel free. And to do that, there was going to have to be some fighting. All right? That's the way it's gone in all of our stories, right? At any rate, Samson wouldn't be quiet about this girl, so finally his daddy went and talked to her daddy, and they made it happen. All right, they set the deal that the two of them would get married. That's how it worked in those days. You didn't go to dates with each other. The parents figured it all out. Anyway, once when Samson was going to see her, he was attacked by a lion, and the Spirit of the Lord filled him, and he became incredibly strong, and he just ripped that lion apart, and he threw it to the side of the road. Can you imagine that? Whew. Well, he went and he saw his girlfriend, and he came back home, and a little bit later he was going down to see her, and he looked at that lion carcass that he had killed, the body of the lion, and some bees had built a hive inside the dead lion, and they had been making honey there. And so he thought that was pretty cool, and he scraped out some of the honey and he ate it, and he gave some of it to his parents. He didn't tell anybody where that honey came from. Well, a little bit later, right, these two are preparing to get married, and there was a custom that the groom would have a party with 30 people, 30 men from the bride's side. So Samson went and he organized this party for 30 Philistine young men. And when he was on his way to this party, he thought about a riddle. And he thought, oh yeah, I have a riddle. I'll tell you in a minute. So he got to the party, and these 30 men were there, and his new wife-to-be was there, and Samson said to the men, listen, we're going to be together for 7 days. We're going to be having a good time. We're going to have a lot of good food. There's going to be a lot of fun. Now, I think that we should have a contest. I will tell you a riddle, and if you can solve it in the 7 days, then I will give each one of you a common pair of clothes and a fancy pair of clothes. But if you can't solve it, then each one of you will give me a common pair of clothes and a fancy pair of clothes. And all the men at his party thought that sounded great. I mean, they had 7 days with 30 of them working on it. They could figure out any riddle, right? And so Samson said to them, out of the eater came something to eat. Out of the strong came something sweet. Whew. Now, of course, he's talking, about that lion and about the honey, but they have no idea what he's talking about, right? That's not much to go on, right? Out of the eater came something to eat. Out of the strong came something sweet. They didn't know. And for 3 days, they scratched their heads and they walked around and they talked about it and they argued about it and they couldn't figure out what this riddle meant at all. And they didn't want to buy Samson all these fancy clothes. So they started bugging his new wife. And they said, listen, did you invite us to this party to make us poor? Did you? That's not very nice. Now you find out from your husband what this riddle is, and you tell us, or we're going to burn down your dad's house and we're going to hurt your family. It was an awful thing they said, right? I mean, isn't that awful? And she went to Samson and she said, by the way, you've never told me the answer to the riddle. And he said, I haven't even told my parents. Why would I tell you? And that wasn't the answer she wanted, so she began to cry, and she pled with him, and she begged him, and she pestered him, and she bothered him. I mean, she was trying to save her family's life, right? You gotta give her that. And finally, Samson was so tired of that he told her the answer. And she went, and she told the men, and they came to Samson just before the sun set on the 7th day, and they said, what's sweeter than honey? And what's stronger than a lion? And Samson knew that they had pushed his wife around and that she had betrayed his trust and that there has had to be, he was so mad. So he went and he killed 30 Philistine guys and he took their clothes off them and he gave those clothes to his guests and he went stamping home to his parents' house and he left his wife there. Well, no one knew what to do. I mean, that was just awful, right? So when he didn't come back, the woman's dad let her marry somebody else. And that's where we'll stop for right now. But that's not the end of the story. Samson's not going to be happy that his wife is married to someone else, even though he stamped away mad. There's going to be consequences for killing the 30 guys. There's going to be trouble, right? Well, that's where we'll pick up next week. You take care. I love hearing from you. I hope you're well. Study hard in school. I'll see you soon. Bye.